Why's he walking in these woods? Why, it's Little Red Riding Hood. Hey there, Little Red Riding Hood. You sure are looking good. You're everything a big bad wolf could want. Listen to me, Little Red Riding Hood. I don't think little big girls should go walking in these spooky old woods alone.
You know what? Hey, everybody. Thank y'all for joining the show tonight. Y'all in for a treat tonight. So, all y'all that's out there watching right now, like I'm thanking y'all. Thank each and every one of you for showing up for the show tonight. I really appreciate y'all for showing up to the show. And I also want to let all you guys know also that in addition to appreciate in each and every one of you being here, I also want to let y'all know that y'all are in for a treat. Tonight's guest that I have coming on the show tonight is Stephen Michael of Abnormal Investigations, and um, he is one of the only other people that I know of that's covering these dogman or cryptid killings or murders or whatever you want to call it, attacks on people in these cases or whatever that are covered up or not brought out full broad stream in the media. I've got Stephen Michael on the show tonight. He does a show on these cryptid killings and murders. And other than him, Jeff Nadoni was one that I was subscribed to also, and I'm still subscribed to Jeff. And that's one of my favorite people, and as well as Stephen. And I'm subscribed to several other channels, Dark Waters, Vic Honda, Dogman Hunters, Paranormal Roundtable with Josh Turner. Zechariah Belsky, y'all check out his channel. Zechariah Belsky's channel is Campfire Tales. He used to be Zach Baby TV on YouTube. Has an amazing channel. He was one of my favorite as well as Tony Merkel, The Confessionals. It's so many channels. Marvin Allen, True Encounters of Marvin Allen and the Doug Pack. Y'all check out his channel and his group also. It's so many channels of people, friends, or whatever the channel subscribers, people who I'm affiliated with in the cryptid field. And I'm so thankful for everybody who is giving me a chance to like be able to like basically come on here and be a part of what they do. I really appreciate it because I started out in this field as a fan, subscriber, and as a member of groups just like y'all. So we all the same. Like I'm ain't no big eyes and no little U's. And I'm just telling y'all right now, thank y'all for showing up for the show tonight. Y'all are in for an amazing show. Um, y'all stick around because I'm telling you right now, if any questions y'all want to ask when it comes to these killings of Dogman or like unknown Canine and stuff like that, we getting ready to dig deep into it tonight because we got Stephen Michael on here tonight. And at some point, like I am gonna reach out to Jeff too. Jeff is busy. He's always uploading videos on a regular basis all the time, and it's kind of hard to get in touch with him. But I'm just gonna let y'all know right now. Other a few other channels I want to give a shout out to also is Dark Waters channel. He has another amazing channel. I've been subscribed to him for years. It's so many different channels, so I just want to put that out there. Anybody whose names or groups that I left out, Sean Graham. I want to Chasing the Truth, Sean Graham. I just want to make sure I shout out all the people who I support. Blondes and Booze channel, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Um, I don't want to leave anybody out because there's so many groups, and like I'm part of like 40 or 50 groups. But y'all are in for a great treat tonight. I'm telling y'all, and any questions y'all got on these cryptids and stuff, before I bring on our guest tonight, I'm gonna give all y'all right now a shout out in the live chat because I appreciate each and every one of you for showing up. Y'all stick around and don't leave. What I do want to say to each and every one of you, because I sometimes get caught up in a little point where I sometimes when I chatting with y'all in the live chat, sometimes I get distracted, and I know that's a bad point, and I'm trying to work on that. So So y'all work on that. But at the same time, also what I want to say to y'all before we even get started on tonight's show, I want to let each and every one of you also know. Oh, and I'm another channel, What Lurks Beneath. That's Josh Nanokio. Josh Nanokio is one of the um, panelists along with me at Josh Turner's Paranormal Roundtable Dogman Conference last year. Josh Turner will be doing another Paranormal Roundtable conference this year. The one we had last year was in Paris, Tennessee, on August 12th and 13th. That was an amazing conference. That was like one of the best conferences. Like I've never been to any other conferences, but I'm just gonna tell y'all right now that was a badass conference. And Stephen Rivas is down there in the comments right now. Stephen was there. That was an amazing conference. I'm telling y'all right now. Josh is doing another conference this year, but this year is going to be in Texas. Now, with all that being said, let me give all of you that's right here in the live chat tonight a shout out. But before I give y'all a shout out, what I want to say real quick is this. When I get even on here and bring him from backstage in a few minutes, what I would like for you all to do is I usually go live. I want to say this real quick. I usually go live on Friday nights, but I've already got a guest for Friday night. But because I wanted to go ahead and get Steven on the show tonight, I went ahead and brought him on tonight instead of waiting till Friday night because I've already got another guest waiting for y'all for Friday night. And that's going to be another amazing show. So y'all get ready and look out for that too. Now, with that being said, another thing I want to tell y'all before I bring him from backstage is that so that I'm not distracted during the show and so that we make sure that we can get as much information out there and I can let him fully tell his experiences, encounters, and the encounters that were shared with him because Stephen Michael has his own show, Abnormal Investigations, on YouTube, and he has his own group of the same name on Facebook as well. So, what I'm going to tell y'all real quick is that what I want y'all to do tonight when you put your questions in the live chat as he's going along, if you need to write your questions down and go back to them later, I will try for the most part to hold questions until somewhere toward. I might take a few questions here and there throughout the show, but for the most part, I would appreciate it if y'all can basically wait and save y'all's questions until I answer questions towards like the hour and a half mark. I usually go live for about 2 hours. I'm gonna bring him live in a few minutes. Stephen Rivas, thank you for showing up tonight. I appreciate you. I'm just gonna give all y'all a shout out, and then I'm gonna bring the guest on here in a few minutes. Coin777, thank you for showing up tonight. Thank you, Marquetta, one of my moderators. Thank you. I appreciate you. Much love. Thank you for showing up tonight. Um, y'all stick around because I just want to make sure because I like to give credit and I like to pay homage to my viewers and my subscribers because y'all, I mean, I don't have to do this, but it's important because y'all are important too. Sugar Bridges been around for a minute, and I appreciate you and I support you and thank you so much for showing up to the show tonight, Sugar Bridges. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Pat Murphy, thank you for showing up tonight. Janice Blake, hey Janice, thank you for showing up tonight. Don't y'all leave. Like I'm just giving all of y'all a shout out. Everybody who's come up in the comments, I'm gonna give y'all a shout out because y'all in for a good show. So don't leave because I'm gonna take y'all's questions tonight. Hey Judy Wheeler, I appreciate you for showing up tonight. Love you much, honey. Davy Jones Locker, what it do? B Money Moss. I love it. Y'all just stick around. I'm telling y'all because tonight we getting ready to dig deep into this. And so, any questions y'all got, any deep questions that you have, make sure you post them in the comments. But make sure that you put your questions in all caps because it's easy for me to see the questions like that. Hey Tamara, thank you for showing up tonight. Debbie, Debbie, it's gonna be a great show. Look, Debbie, I'm excited tonight. Like for me right now, like I'm in full fan mode right now. I'm in fangirl mode. I'm excited about this. Dark Woods, hey there, honey. Thank you for showing up tonight. War Criminal, is that War Criminal 7? War Criminal 7, thank you for showing up tonight. Anunnaki Bro, what's up? Thank you for showing up tonight too. I'm calling all of y'all out tonight because this y'all show too. This y'all too. So thank y'all. I appreciate each and every one of you. Hold on, my comments is like, okay, they're pulling up now. Richard Cox, thank you for showing up tonight. Richard Cox said Elvis has entered the building. Listen, I'm gonna let y'all know right now, and I'm gonna tell y'all one more time. And for those of you who are moderators tonight, like for my channel, make sure like in tonight, because I ain't gonna be able to say it. I don't want to keep interrupting the guests. So as new people come in tonight to the chat, make sure y'all let them know when they get ready to start asking questions and stuff. Tell them, make sure y'all let them know to say their questions. Towards the middle or the end of when I ask for questions, and make sure y'all let them know to put questions in all caps. Steve Wolf, what's up? Thank you for showing up tonight. Carla Hipkins, thank you for showing up tonight. Hey, Primal Crowd, how you doing, honey? Okay, so I'm getting ready to get started in a minute because I ain't gonna keep y'all holding all night. I'm gonna let y'all know right now though, and I'm getting ready to bring him from backstage at 7:06, and we're supposed to be already started. Diana Rodriguez, thank you for showing up tonight. Barb, hey Barb, y'all make sure y'all check the comments tonight, and also in the chat, check make sure that all the comments are straight and on point. Nobody's disrespectful. Campfire Tales, y'all. That campfire. Hey, let's get this party started. That's right, Campfire Tales, y'all. I'm gonna let y'all know right now. Campfire Tales, aka Zechariah Belsky, aka Zach Baby TV. Zach Baby TV, before he was Campfire Tales, I was already subscribed to him on YouTube, and I'm subscribed to Big Conda, Josh Turner, Dark Waters, and everybody else. Right there, Campfire Tales. Y'all go over and subscribe to his channel. Zach Baby TV is the truth. He got so many dog man encounters that it ain't even funny, and he will be a guest on the show too. So y'all support Campfire Tales. I'm telling y'all, I'm not even joking with y'all right now. This is a channel that y'all definitely want to subscribe to. He's a member of the group, and he's also got his own channel. And I shouldn't even have to promote him. Like Zach Baby TV, Campfire Tales, he has got like 26,000 subscribers already over there already on his channel. So without further ado, y'all, let me just call out a few more people, and then we're gonna go live. Hey, Mammy J Hall, thank you for showing up tonight. And anybody else like y'all that's moderators here, I don't want to keep this because like keep going too long. I want to go ahead and bring the guest on tonight. I'm excited about this. Like I said before, y'all, I'm in full fangirl mode right now, like I would be for anybody else, and I'm excited about this. We get ready to dig deep into it. Again, questions in all caps, and y'all please try to hold y'all's and hold y'all's questions until I answer questions later on in the show. With that being said, I'm gonna bring my guest out from backstage, and his name is Stephen Michael. I'm gonna let him introduce himself and talk about his group, his channel, and all that good stuff. And with that being said, let's bring him on. Let's see, Stephen, unmute your mic.
We're muted. Yep. I'm glad to be here with you. I was kind of flattered that you invited me to your show.
I was flattered you came on the show. I'm excited about this right now because a lot of people don't realize like that. Like I'm still small in this. Like when I say I'm small in this, I'm saying like right now that I'm like at like almost 3,000 subscribers. And for y'all that's listening that's not subscribed to the channel, go over and subscribe to my channel right now. Make sure all y'all click the like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Make sure y'all do that. Campfire Tale, yeah, stick around, Campfire Tales, and make sure you stick around and ask questions because right now we got Stephen Michael on here from Abnormal Investigations, and like he got some good stuff for us tonight. And y'all's questions that you want to ask about all these dogman killings and stuff like that, make sure y'all stick around. I'm not gonna cut him off tonight. I'm not gonna, some of y'all left comments and stuff like that. Let your guests talk. Okay, I'm gonna let the guests talk tonight. So, Stephen Michael, can you please give us an introduction to yourself and tell us all who you are and how you got started with your channel and your group and all that good stuff? And then from there, then I want to discuss several things. And I've got several of your shows that I've watched. I'm subscribed to your channel and I get notified every time you go live. So I've got specific ones that I want to discuss, but I'm also going to have you discuss ones that stand out to you the most too. But can you just give everybody a brief introduction to yourself, how you got started with your channel, cryptids, and all that good stuff?
Sure. Yeah. First, I want to say I'm nothing big time either. You're going to be big time. You've got a great show. You've got a lot of knowledge, and you're upcoming. And I like to watch your show. But
Well,
as
thank
far
you.
as me, as far as getting into the cryptids, it kind of happened naturally. I grew up in it. My mom and her family grew up in it at where they had lived, so it was nothing new for me growing up to be around the cryptids. We had a lot of weird things happen at my granny's house, and I'm writing a book on that. I worked with law enforcement security over 18 years. I was an investigator, worked in different aspects, SOT, I've done special investigations, juvenile services. So I had a lot of investigational skills. I quit working there and then decided to put what I had learned in the field to working with cryptids. And I approach it the same as I would any case. Prepare it as if you're going to take it to court, base it off of factual information. Uh, with that being said, I just started abnormal investigations, I think, like 2021. And a lot of people were wanting me to share the information I had. I had been doing it offline and personal, just for me. And a lot of people said, well, give it a try, give it a try. So I put out one video. People were interested and started getting contacted by police officers around the world, people sharing case stories with me anonymously, giving me inside information, uh, medics, police, just a lot of the brotherhood stepped up and they started saying there's a lot of things going on and be our voice. And I said, sure. And pretty much where we're at now.
Okay, so Stephen, we're gonna y'all stick around. I'm telling y'all, y'all in for a treat tonight. Stephen, I want to know, like, before you ever came into doing your channel, doing your show, um, before we get into it, and maybe I'll bring you back again to like do an in-depth, straight up encounter show because you have had a dogman encounter. Would you care to let everybody know, before you ever had your first encounter with dogman? Did you already know of or believe in cryptids based on your family background?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Since I was young, I mean, it was nothing. I mean, since I can remember, when we went to my granny's, it was you come in before dark, you don't leave the yard, and we just had certain rules that we lived by. It wasn't weird to us because that's how we grew up. It was we just knew routine, how to be safe, and what to do. It was the same things that my mom's family had done. She was, there was eight of her family and her mom, and it was just something we knew. It was we grew up with it. I mean, it wasn't nothing to be at Granny's house at night and it'd be beating on the house, scratching on the house, howling, groaning, moaning, whistling at you, and sometimes even verbal.
Oh, so your mother and your grandma, they already knew about this. So this was already a history that was already going on already in your family. They had known about these things for years. What would they ever tell you about these things before you ever had your sighting?
Oh man, we had my mom for some reason was it was more interested in her than it was any of them. They never knew why. My mom had her first encounter at about the age of 13, and she was walking up the steps at her mom's house, and they had large concrete steps. The creature had laid its head up beside the steps with its lower jaw just below the steps, and she said it looked like a werewolf. And ever since that happened, it followed my mom even there at the house, and even until her adulthood, even till today. When she goes to the woods, it finds her, and it's the same mo that it done at Granny's house. It's creepy, and Granny would tell us, for instance, we were sitting in the house one night. I was around 12 years old, and she said, and she didn't have air conditioning back then. We lived in the country. They lived off the farm, and she had the old wooden window, raised up. And I was talking to my cousin who was staying all night, and she said, "Don't panic. I want to go close the window, shut the door, and lock it because it's out there sitting in the tree looking at us." And of
Hmm.
course, we looked out the window, and there it is, crouched up in the tree with its arms around the tree, looking through the window, watching us sit in the front room and visit. So, I mean, there was a lot of it was scary, especially being young. It scared us bad.
Young did you did you see what they were talking about at that time? And we're gonna get into it in minutes, but did you see what they were talking about at that time? And when they would tell you these things that they were seeing, did you ever second guess it, or did you believe it right off? What did you think about that?
I believed it because I had witnessed it myself. I personally seen them, and I actually shot one, so I knew it to be true. Yeah, I wounded one.
But
Me and my cousin, and
was
I
that
was
during your
probably
first? Was that during the first encounter that you told me about?
no, I had got a little older, and we had decided to hunt them, and we went down into they called it the hog lot where my grandpa raised hogs, and it was in the pond, and there was large cattails, and we were pushing our way through the cattails trying to find it, and we could hear it breathing, and it was dark, and it ran right up on us, and we shot it. It actually fell, and then got back up and ran up behind the chicken house, and of course my granny and mom and everybody, they heard the gunshot, so they pulled the cars around, turned the lights on, and it was behind the chicken house, and you could hear it scratching on the back of the chicken house and growling. And my uncle came
Mm-mm.
down. He had been in Vietnam, and he said, "Take the kids in the house, get everybody in the house." And when they went down to look, they found a large pool of blood where I had shot it, a trail of blood to the chicken house, and then even a larger trail of blood behind the chicken house. My dad arrived later, and when they arrived, they saw one run from the chicken house with something over its back. They later determined what they believed it was, that there was more than one, and the injured one was carried off by the other one that was waiting behind the chicken
Before,
house.
so, oh my God, that now y'all, I'm just telling you that like this is just one of the encounters. This ain't even the first one. You're gonna go on the first one in a few minutes, but I didn't even know. He just told me this one just now. We talked for like 2 hours a couple of nights ago, I think Monday night, and I got a lot of information from him. And so when I got information, like this is the first time he's telling me about this one. So when this situation, when this encounter happened, Stephen, did you when you shot that thing that night? Did you see it like you saw all the features? You saw it like before you actually shot at it. I'm assuming, like when you
Yeah,
hit
it
it.
was.
What did
It
it look
wasn't.
like?
It wasn't as large as what most people say. The one I encountered. This was something that was probably. It's probably about my height. It was around 5'10". It was nothing huge. It was the build on it is different. It was more of a bulky build than it is like how a human is built. They're more of like a teddy bear build kind of, and
Yes.
and the ears. I remember the ears because it was the light from the house was on, and the ears weren't on the side. They were more like on top of the head and more pointed and erect. And I noticed that was really different.
Was that kind of like a Doberman pincher? Because you know how their ears are straight on top of their head and pointed, like really
Be a
pointed.
be a lot like that. Yeah.
Because I was watching several videos on YouTube, and there's a channel that I'm subscribed to, and it's like, oh, I never realized how like straight up and how pointed their ears were. But that's a perfect example. We always try to reference all the time the German Shepherd, but what a lot of people's encounters are more like is more like what you would picture when you see drawings or illustrations of a newborn or a Zolo eats Quintly, or or a Doberman Pinscher. So what I want to get into real quick with you. So can you, before we go into the attacks, killings, and the cover up and stuff like that, can you let everybody know about your first encounter with your first cryptid encounter, and then if was that a dog man or was that Bigfoot?
My first cryptid encounter would have been a Bigfoot. Yeah, it was. Everybody had talked about him, and me and my cousin were playing hide and go seek, and I was young, and I remember the tree in the front yard was home base, and I had ran to the back of the house behind Grandpa's old shed, and I was hiding, and my cousin was a larger guy. He had worked out all of his life, and I thought he was beside me, and I was talking to it. And while I was standing there, I looked to the front yard and my cousin was already at home base. And I looked down, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
who is this? And it starts, it's like a laugh, but it's not a laugh. It's like a growl. And I think at that moment it knew that I knew what it was. And I ran, and whenever I ran, it it followed me to like the side of the house. And whenever I ran in the front door and I started yelling at everybody saying, it was chasing me, it was chasing me, it actually started beating on the back door. And my grandpa grabbed the gun. Of course, they all went outside, and they never found it, but it went up. They had an old mulberry tree it set up in the field, and it crawled
Oh
up
my
in the
gosh.
mulberry tree and was actually screaming at the house. And none of the adults would go to the mulberry tree.
That is terrifying. I would. So you were one of those people who have had, I guess, in your childhood, and I'm not sure if still now to this day, but in your childhood, you had like dogmen or Bigfoot that were, I guess, habituated to your property that already lived on your property all that time. So over the years, you got used to them being there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Did
Uh,
you, because of that, become used to like rules of engagement as far as these creatures were concerned? Were there things that you knew not to do or not to do in as related to them because you were thinking about your own safety or your family's safety?
Absolutely, yeah. Whenever we would stay the night, the rules were we would come in before dark, and we would hang blankets over the windows. That way, it couldn't see us moving through the house. It was an older house, so we learned to take our shoes off and where to walk without creaking the floors and letting it know which room we was in because it would follow us from room to room. We did not go outside at night unless we just absolutely had to, and I mean it was we just didn't do it. Uh, in the house, we would try to like at dark we would turn on lights in the house. We would have like night lights. That way, we weren't turning lights on and off from room to room because it would
Hmm.
follow the lights. And we would try like when we go to the bathroom. One time, I actually had to go to the bathroom, and when I walked to the bathroom, the back door on the back side of the house, it was hard to walk without it creaking. And I stepped one night and it creaked, and whenever it did, something rattled the doorknob and hit the door really hard, like it tried to come in when it heard me at the back door. And I remember they ran in, they grabbed a chair from the kitchen table, they spun it around backwards, and then stuck it underneath the doorknob because they thought it was going to try to come in.
Oh my God, that's terrifying. They never
Yeah,
got in though, did they?
it did come in the house. When my mom was younger, my grandpa was a logger, so he was gone except for on the weekends. And it was my grandma, and then of course the 8 kids. They were asleep one night, and my mom's sister woke up, and she saw it standing inside the house at the bedroom door. And she said its head was all the way up to the door. And being a little girl, she just covered her head up, and she didn't wake anybody up. Well, whenever she
Mm-hmm.
uncovered her head the second time, it was standing looking at her over the bed. It had made it to the bed. So she covered her head back up, and the bedroom
Mm-mm.
that adjoined them is where the other kids were at. So when it walked around the end of the bed, it had to walk to the end to go through the other door to the other bedroom. It ran its hand or fingers across her feet as it walked past, and it still bothers her to this day.
Absolutely not. And just thinking about it, when it comes to ghosts, dogman, Bigfoot, shadow people, sleep paralysis, and all that kind of stuff, and I don't even like talking about certain stuff because I'm one of those people that's sensitive and stuff. Sometimes when we talk about certain stuff, it will um, talk them up. It will talk them up, and it will bring them. I don't know what, I guess, kind of to say, like it will make them manifest. And like I said, y'all, tonight I'm gonna keep and I'm gonna hold my mule because I want to make sure he gets out as much information as possible. But what I will say is that that kind of stuff. You watch scary movies. A lot of times, y'all watch enough scary movies, you'll see that on these movies and stuff like that. If you got your hand hanging over the edge of the bed or your foot over the edge of the bed, that's that you always get that hand or that arm yanked. Like, I will not do it because I'm that person. Like when they tell little kids, there's nothing under the bed. There's nothing in your closet. If your kid tells you that there's something under the bed or in their closet, believe them because kids are not crazy. I mean, maybe some of y'all might have some crazy kids. I'm just telling you, But at the same time, like, you have to believe this stuff. We're adults right now, but we have these sightings and encounters with something that's not supposed to exist.
Right.
Bigfoot in some stories will be called a troll, and Dogman will be called a werewolf, or whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, these things are not supposed to exist. We're told that they don't exist. So when it comes down to that, you've got to look at how the fact that we don't believe your kids, you got to also look at the fact that as adults, having these encounters and sightings, people don't always believe us. So believe your kids. Don't second guess them or whatever, and just believe them because they're not going to tell you something. They're not seeing something that's not there. Now, Stephen, um, I want to ask you real quick. So, did you share? Have you told us yet? You told us about the Bigfoot encounter. Did you want to go into your first dogman sighting that you had before we go into the other cases and stuff like that that I want to discuss with you after?
Yeah, my very first one. It wasn't. Are you talking about the one with the boys? The one I told you about?
Um, yeah, your first dogman encounter,
Okay,
and then after that.
my very first encounter. I was riding in the back of the truck with my dad, and I was really young, and I actually seen it running through the woods, and it was the best way to I could describe the color of it was the color of cigarette ashes. It was white with the black specks on it, and it was running upright, large canine looking creature. And this happened in the same area where me and the boys were at whenever we were walking on the lake treasure hunting. And my little nephew, he said, Mike, look. And we'd seen the coyotes come out, and that's nothing new to see coyotes down there. And I said, what? And he goes, look. And we look, and the coyotes are standing on their hind legs. And I was like, okay. So I start moving the boys toward the truck. One of them was a larger one. My son actually seen Hunter. He saw it. It climbed up into the tree and started shaking the tree and making like hoops at us. And so we're moving back toward the truck. The kids were freaked out. The kids are watching them. And I'm like, let's just go to the truck. Don't run. And they did follow us. They paralleled us to the tree line while we went across the open lake where it had dried up and then got to the truck. But I feel like if they would have had more time that night, I felt like they were actually pack hunting us. I believe we were actually being hunted that day.
What were you doing out there when you were there during this experience? What were y'all out there for? Were you hunting? What was going
We,
on?
we go down and find like seashells, and the boys like to find old relics and stuff from the old town that's underwater, and we rocks, and they just like to play around, look around. It was dried up, so it was areas you don't never get to go. So there was like concrete slabs where the houses sit, and we were just exploring, looking at the writings on in the concrete, stuff like that.
So when y'all saw this, and you said that you saw like coyotes and like they were standing on their hind legs, were they? Was there had to be something about it that let you know that they were not regular cow. First of all, regular animals, regular coyotes do not stand up on their hind legs, and I'm not saying wolves and coyotes can't do that. Maybe for a few seconds, maybe like a bear or a dog can. But what was different about that experience that let you know that you were not looking at a regular coyote or wolf or whatever? What let you know that that was something strange about that? Was it their size? And then can you go into and give a description of what you saw?
Sure. When they first entered into sight, they entered like any group of coyotes would. They were on all fours. They were in a pack. It was nothing unusual the way that they entered. Whenever they went bipedal, it was what caused it to be abnormal was they were comfortable on their hind legs. They were turning in 360 degrees. They were making human left or right turns. They were moving hundreds of yards bipedal, and they did not look uncomfortable, off balance. It was natural. The way that they carried their arms weren't like they weren't using their upper arms for balance. They were comfortable on their hind legs. And when the one climbed the tree, he was using his front paws. It was far enough away I couldn't see if he had hands, but he was using the front of his paws or whatever as hands and was climbing like a human. And he was able to grip the limb above him with his upper torso, his upper arms, and shake it violently while holding on to the
Mm.
tree. And they covered probably 300 yards bipedal before we actually got to the truck. And when we got to the truck, they all slowly went back down to all fours and then back into the woods with their tails up. So yeah, it was. I felt like we were hunted that day.
So they were approaching y'all. They were advancing towards you.
No, they were paralleling us. We were out in the middle of the lake, and there was a wood line, and they stayed right at the wood line. But our truck, where our truck was at, the wood line kind of swerved in toward it. So we were kind of on like an intersecting trail.
This is terrifying. Now you said, like when I talked to you and did your pre-interview, you told me that there was one that you felt like that was an alpha, and it stood out from the other ones. And so, can you tell me and explain what was going on with that? You felt like the alpha was the one that climbed that tree, and do you feel
He,
like that it sent the other ones out?
yeah, he was larger. He was probably 6 foot, maybe a little taller. Little larger build, more of a wolf build.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell that he was definitely the main one because whenever he would make the noises, they were in tune to him. So you could tell that he was the dominant. He was the leader. You could tell.
What did they look like if you had to describe it? What did the alpha look like, and what did the others look like?
The other ones were gray color, just like regular coyote. Not any larger as far as height or anything. Just the way they
Mm-hmm.
moved. They had the barrel chest, everything, except for they were comfortable on their hind legs. That was the weird thing. It was not awkward. The larger one would have been like a wolf. More it was more muscle, the size. It was
Mm-hmm.
wider. The way that it carried itself, it it probably had longer arms. The arms were more longer. It
Okay.
moved in a slower movement, more like confident movement. You could
Yes,
tell that it was the evil one.
it was the evil one.
Yeah, you could tell that it was the one that you just feel that like the leader of a best way I can put it. If you go into a fight, you always have a leader. You're going to have the guy that's going to be the main one that's going to cause trouble. And if you take care of him, you'll take care of the rest. And this one, you could tell he was the one that was telling them. And I just had a bad feeling. I had the kids with me, and I felt like they seen opportunity because there is no houses around where we're at. It is miles away from anywhere. And if something happened, them little boys would not make it out. They would not. There, matter of fact, people died.
Now,
People die down there every year.
so all right, you answered both of those questions. Now, what y'all don't know, like for y'all that don't know, like if y'all not subscribed, like right now, like I want y'all to go over or after the show is over with Abnormal Investigations channel on YouTube. It's got some amazing counters over there, and we get ready to dig into that right now because I'm excited and I've been ready and waiting for this to get right into this. There's several in the last few years. I'm gonna say the last 5 years anyway. The last 5 years since I've been doing shows and doing having a group and stuff like that. I've been subscribed to multiple channels for a long time. Jeff and um, Mike are two people who I have frequently watched their channels and subscribed. I got the notifications on, so anytime they go live, like I always get over there because they have great shows and they cover a lot of shows when it comes down to it. As far as these unknown animal or unknown canine attacks. And tonight, I want Stephen to go right into that because um, I've got a few cases that I want to discover. The first discuss and go into one of the ones I want to go into first because for me right now, as far as I can think of it, I've got quite a few in my mind, but one that I want to discuss first, Mike, is the case of Corey Godsey. Can you, for the people who's out there watching right now that have never heard of this encounter, can you go into that encounter and that experience, that situation, that case, and just basically let everybody know what happened with that?
Corey Godsey, he was 13-year-old male. He was playing in the backyard of his parents' house, he went missing, and where his body was found, animal experts, dog experts, canine handlers all said that it was impossible for a canine or animal to be able to pull his body according to his weight to the location that he was found. Not only was it impossible to pull his body there, the amount of damage that was done to the young man's body did not match any animals on record.
Real quick, I want you to go like in every detail because some people don't know the details of where his body was found. So tell this story exactly like you would tell it on your channel, like from beginning to end. Like when he was found, where was he found?
He
Like,
was, I believe it was around 400 feet up a just a very steep incline, a lot of shrubbery, loose gravel. The rescue workers, in fact, had to have volunteers to help to remove the body. Uh, very, very coarse. Is just a very hard place. With respect to the family, without going directly into exactly how he looked, uh, one of the medics made the comment it looked like a shark had took a bite out of him. Uh, Parts of this young man uh, were consumed. Uh, Not all of him was recovered. Uh, there was a cover up, an attempted cover up, I believe. The medical examiner first said that there was no damage to the body, was what was first released. And
mm-hmm.
I spoke to witnesses and medics that were on the scene, said absolutely not. It was a gruesome scene. I actually spoke to some family members. One family member did contact me, and they said that his mom, of course, is still having trouble to this day with the nature of how his body was whenever they found him. Uh, they weren't able to get every part of him. Some of it was missing. And in particular, and it goes back to another case that I worked that really made me think about it. His throat was removed, not cut. His throat was removed.
Corey, the young boy.
That was the statement that was given to me by a family member that had called me. Um, the mother was told not to talk about the case. She won't talk to this day. Um, I spoke with another gentleman that's in the area, and they actually brought a guy in that was not part of this and was using him for media reasons to spin another story. Uh, there's a lot of mines up in that area, and there was a gentleman that lives in that area that had been reporting to the sheriff's department, wildlife officials, that he was hearing noises in the hills that he had not recognized ever, and they were just blowing it off. And he said there is something living in those mines. And whenever he gave his first story to me, he spoke. He told me all about what he had heard, and he had seen some things bipedal in the area and things. And then after we got done, I came back to talk to him to do a show, and he totally recanted his story and said that he couldn't talk to me. It was no longer safe to discuss the case.
Like he had been like somebody had reached out to him and told him that he needed to be quiet and stop talking about it.
Yes, and
Now,
there's.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, when you're done with this, I'll tell you another case, and you're going to see exactly how they're familiar, how the attacks are familiar on kids.
Yes, because I got a few more questions on this Corey Gotzi case alone. One of the things that I wanted to ask you on it, when when Corey went missing, wasn't he only out in that backyard just for a few minutes before like his mother noticed that he wasn't out there? And what was the original story that was told by the media that supposedly took him?
The media stated that it was a pack of dogs, that he was playing in the backyard, and they thought that a feral pack of dogs had came across and had attacked him and took him. Um, if you look at cases of dog attacks, dogs, when they attack a human, an animal, whatever they're attacking, they do not move the prey from the area that they attack it. The prey will usually be attacked right there at that area. That will be the area that the attack occurred in. You're going to have, the blood splatter. You're going to have the struggle area is what they call it. You're going to have a struggle area. You're going to have signs of a fight. You're going to have defensive wounds. It's all going to happen in a single area. You're not going to a dog is not going to move you to another area to kill you. Now you look at panthers and cats and stuff like that. They will do that, but
Mm-hmm.
this creature that done this did not have the strength, and this was from the warden service and specialists to move that body, the distance, the height, and the terrain to where it was found, and in the time manner that it was found. This happened fast. He was took, removed, eaten, and left.
How many hours? Okay, so once they realized that he was missing, the law enforcement came in that same day to look for him.
Right.
How long? I, I guess my question is, once they realized he was missing and they found him, was it the next day when they found his body, or was it that same day? And did you say it was 400 feet up the cliff that they found him, like straight up an embankment where a natural animal like a cougar or a wolf or a coyote, they wouldn't have been able to? What I was hearing was they wouldn't have been able to carry 100 pounds of dead weight straight up a mountainside or a cliff like that.
Right. Yeah. All the authorities at the scene agreed that no animal known would have been able to move his body according to his weight, the terrain, and also the obstacles that it would have had to have overcome to move the body that distance and that fast, and then to consume that much of him. I mean that's scary. It's
And you say consumed that much of him. Was he partially consumed? Like I mean, he was a 13-year-old boy. Like, so you saying like a great deal of his flesh was missing? Like, he was basically tore up.
throat and stomach, abdomen. Yeah.
Were any dogs? And they originally blamed it on dogs. Were any dogs ever confiscated or taken, and basically the contents of their stomach tested to see
Yes.
if there was human flesh in those dogs' stomachs, and if so, what was the result of that?
They found a rogue pack of dogs living up in a mine that was close to the location of the attack. They did grab the dogs. The dogs were seized. They done a an autopsy on the dogs. They tested fecal matter, checked for DNA swabs on the mouth, the coat of the dogs around the mouth. After the dogs were destroyed, the results came back as negative. The dogs had no human DNA, no human blood, no human contents, and the fecal matter was all clear. And after this was done, the police department issued a warning telling everybody to be vigilant, to keep their animals, kids inside, that there may still be a predator on the loose of unknown origin or unknown animal, which you still have the guy that's living in the house telling everybody, I've been hearing and seeing this thing, and nobody's listening to him.
Wasn't there an uncle or grandfather or somebody there that actually said that they saw? And maybe I'm wrong. Some different people have covered this story. Did somebody? Was there anybody at any point that said that they saw what took him? I remember at one point it was blamed on pit bulls.
It was pit bulls, it was a pack of dogs, it was coyotes, it was wolves. Even they even at one point were talking about panthers and mountain lions and bears. Oh my, whatever they could blame it on. But whenever you have a specialist that comes in and they look at the animal and they say, no animal can carry this amount of weight, the distance, the terrain, obstacles. No animal is going to be able to do the damage in one bite. They couldn't even match the bites to anything. The bites were so large that whenever it bit this kid, it was
That's
like
not.
taking a bite out of its side to the middle of its stomach and to its spine. This is a large creature. This is not a dog. And the way that it took the child and how it knew to move the child, and then eating through the stomach, it it supports the idea that it's eating for the organs. And
Yes.
out of Oklahoma, there's a case out of Oklahoma that I will never forget, and it to me is a case of absolute cover up. Uh, a young man was
Real quick,
found.
Stephen, real quick, because there's one thing about that case that I want to make sure everybody hears before you go on to that.
Right.
But there's one thing that's interesting in that Corey Godsey case. Now, can you speak on, because one thing that I heard you say on your show, um, and I can't remember if it was the Amber Miller and Tony Arns case out of Cobb County, Tennessee, or it was Corey Godsey case. But one thing that you said that you had read, and I can't remember if it was law enforcement or who it was exactly right now, but they said that one of the largest canine footprints that they ever found on record
Amber Miller.
bipedal.
It was the
Amber
Amber
Miller.
Miller. Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
we'll go. Okay, we'll go into that later then. So
Yeah.
on the Corey Godsey case, the mother did they leave that an open case after that, and then
Yeah,
wrap it up
it's
on
left an
this one?
open case. Yeah, you're not able to file a FOIA on it, and they know that. That's why they leave a lot of these cases open. It's because they know that it's
Still,
an open. Yeah, yeah, I believe so. Last time I checked, it was an open case. Unknown animal origin. So I mean,
that
yeah,
is ridiculous. I want y'all that's out there in the comments right now, because there's some of y'all in the comments, and I'm gonna have to turn this air conditioner off because this like got me real. But I'm going to. We getting ready to move on to another case. Hey, Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones just showed up. Blondes and Booze, Krista, Michael Tweedy, thank you for showing up. Marquetta, as always, thank you for showing up. Greg, Man of Light, thank you for showing up. Steven, if you can give me a second, let me turn this air conditioner off because it's
sure.
killing me. But
Oh yeah,
actually, even while I'm turning that off, what I want you to go straight into, go ahead and start telling them, Stephen, what you were going to tell them. This, were you getting ready to go into Cobb County, Tennessee, or were you getting ready to talk about something else?
I was going to talk about a case that happened in Oklahoma that I believe fits the same MO as what happened in the Corey Godsey case. Um,
Okay.
we might get in trouble for this one because I stepped on a lot of toes with this one, and I received a phone call to back off. So, but we're going to talk about it.
I want to hear it, so hold on. Don't tell them yet. Hold on. Y'all hold
All
on,
right,
because I'm going
all
to turn
right.
this air conditioner off. I can't take it. Don't y'all go nowhere. I'm just going to cut this air off. I'm coming right back because he got some good stuff tonight. All right, I'm right back. Hold on.
No, you're okay. I had to get a drink anyways. I had to
Sorry
wet my
about that,
whistle.
y'all. I'm premenopausal, so I get hot and cold all the time. Oh, Stephen.
Yeah.
Oh, so okay, go straight into that, and then like I got so much right now, y'all. I'm telling y'all, Abnormal Investigations on YouTube, and he also has a group on Facebook. I'm telling y'all, Stephen, Mike, he's the truth. Y'all go over and check out his channel. He's been doing this for a long time, so y'all check him out. But go right into that, Mike.
There was a case that I worked in Oklahoma that caught my attention right off, and I probably dug a little further in it than what they wanted me to. Uh, I received a phone call to back off, and what they wanted me to list my outcome as but I didn't. I stuck to the guns and I done my thing. That's what I've done as an investigator. I've always done that. And whenever there was a young man in Oklahoma, and his name was James McNeilis, and he was kind of like the Corey Godsey case. He was playing in the backyard of his parents' house, and he had ran around to the kitchen window, and his mom had told him to get ready for dinner. He then went to the backyard, and the dad went out to find him and was unable to find him. Well, this is part of the case that really got me to thinking because the dad says he searched for his son for 45 minutes in the backyard. If you don't find your son in 10 minutes in your backyard, there's a problem. Well, the
Mm-hmm.
story started not adding up to me. So I started following the story, and the address that they had gave for the account that had happened, I plugged into my computer, and it did not put the accident at the location. It put the accident at a pond in the middle of a field. And I noticed that the address given was by the game wardens, not the state. Game wardens are very good at giving precise locations in deserted hunting areas, stuff like that. They're used to doing that because that's where a lot of their crime happens. It's not on streets, but in the middle of nowhere. So they will give a GPS location of a crime, not a street or highway or interstate. So whenever I put that in, it put me on a pond. And I thought something's off because they said the body was found in the backyard. So I reached out, and first I spoke to the neighbor, and the neighbor told me that they were on the porch celebrating a birthday at the same time this had happened. Now, their house is close to McNeilis's house, but there's a lot of shrubbery. They didn't keep their yard took care of. It was overgrown. There was a lot of trees, open adjacent pastures. I mean, it was a prime opportunity for an ambush predator. She said they never heard anything. And they started blaming it on a stray dog that they said that his parents had picked up. And they said this dog had killed him. You know, and I know, when a dog attacks something, you're going to hear fighting. You're going to hear it growling. You're going to hear the kids screaming. It would have been a loud incident. Nobody heard a thing. So I reached out to the father. I took a gamble. And I thought maybe he'll talk to me. So I reached out, and lo and behold, he called me back. And we spoke. And the father, in my opinion, was very relaxed and very controlled when he talked about, well, I'm just going to tell you. If you have any children in the room, you'll want to excuse them for this. It's really bad. This come from the father. This is firsthand information.
He telling
His
y'all
son,
this is really graphic. So if y'all got
yeah,
this and you're not you listening on earbuds, and you want to send your kids out of the room right now because it's about to get real. He's about to tell some graphic information to y'all right now. God, please don't let the powers that be come in here like they did when I interviewed Lance Hightower and try to interrupt this feed. Go straight into it, Mike.
the after speaking to the father, he told me that his son was not found in the backyard. That his son was found at the pond. And I said, how come the reports that are coming out are saying that he was found in your backyard? And he said, that wasn't by my choosing. And I asked him, I said, if you can talk about the damage that occurred to your son, I would like to know. And he said, sure. And that was weird to me because this is within the hours of the attack. And he tells me, my son's throat was missing, Corey Godsey case. The abdomen was apart. There was organs missing. The child was decapitated with its head placed underneath its left arm. That's why there was no noise when the child was attacked, is because I feel that the throat was bit out. Uh, Whatever attacked him came across the fence, probably either ripped or bit his throat out, and then decapitated him, and then feasted on the organs of the child. Well, after later, I received a phone call from a medic that was working the scene, and the medic told me that when they arrived at the scene, it was very weird because the game wardens were controlling the scene, which isn't it's not natural for the game wardens to take control of a crime scene, especially in the city. But game wardens are federal in Oklahoma, and the game wardens, she said, were running the show. They weren't allowed to go to the backyard when they first arrived, which is also not protocol for EMS first responders to be able to go to a body. And whenever they arrived, it was more like a standoff, like everybody was being held back, and mostly the wardens, state police were inside. Uh, I would assume, and it's an opinion. I would have to speculate because I wasn't there. I hate to speculate, but it it only makes sense that they were buying time to move the body to the backyard. They were creating a story, a timeline, because the more people that see what happened, the harder it's going to be to hide it. Especially your paramedics and stuff like that. They live in the town, so they're citizens of the town, and they know they're going to talk. Another thing I thought was really weird. The neighbor told me that after the incident, they had helicopters, military helicopters, were coming over at night at low level, no lights on, and she said they had really bright red lights inside. Well, if you know military helicopters, what they're doing, the reason they're flying with the red lights is because at nighttime operations, they're using FLIR. She said
Okay.
there was a lot of gunshots that were shot out in that field from the helicopters. This was all happening within 2 to 3 days of the incident. After that,
Before the incident or after the incident?
after the incident, which would make you assume that they're hunting something. Uh, After it had happened, and moving along a little further, the nothing against the family at all. It's just as looking at it as a case. The family was not a what I would call a wealthy family. They were a family you could tell worked hard for what they had. Uh, After the incident happened, I spoke to the father again, and his story had changed completely. The child was found in the backyard. His dog done it, and then I went deeper. That's just the nature. I needed to know. So I spoke to one of the people over at the pound where they were holding the dog that was supposedly guilty for the attack that happened to the child. They done a necropsy on the dog, which is an autopsy for an animal. And whenever they looked through the dog absolutely had no human DNA on it. The dog,
The
with the amount
dogs,
of
the dogs never have any human DNA in it ever.
never,
When they take
never did.
these dogs in, and we're gonna speak on that in a minute because I don't want to cut you off because this is too important. They never do, but they
Never.
got to give
Eh,
some type of answer for it, so they're gonna put that out there on the front. When was the? And I'm gonna just say this and I'm gonna shut up. But y'all got to think about it when they use this pack of wild dogs and stuff like that. How many? I mean, just thinking about your area, wherever you live at, even if you live in the country, how often do you really? And I'm not saying it doesn't happen periodically, but really, how often do you really just see a pack of wild dogs? You might see a stray dog here and there, but how often do you see a pack of wild dogs and just viciously running around and just attacking and killing people? I mean, when was the last time you heard of what like that? I'm just I'm not saying it ain't ever happened, but it's just
well, yeah.
too regular now used as an excuse. But keep going, Mike. I'm listening.
Well, another thing too is they want to blame the dogs, but if you'll look it up and people can research it, human meat is not what dogs like. They do not like our taste. Dogs will consume a human in certain circumstances. If the owner dies and they're left in the house with them and there's nothing else for that dog to eat, the dog will consume the human, but it is not what they prefer. They will not and also in the wild, dogs will hunt small game, rabbits, rats, stuff like that. They're not interested in eating a human. They will kill a human, but as far as consuming a human, very, 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 very rare. And every incident that happens with dogs, that a child is consumed or somebody's consumed, the first thing law enforcement does is they say, well, the dog done it. Well, working 18 years with them, I know that whenever they don't do it, why in the hell are we looking at something we know is not the problem? They're it's
Hmm.
proven they're not out to eat us. And another weird thing that happened in this case, like I said, they were not a rich family. I done an update. I haven't really went into it. I haven't done a video on it, but I followed it. The family now, after the incident happened, I kept digging. And this is where I received the phone call. I found out that the family was involved in witchcraft.
Okay.
And as I dug deeper, it is common in the belief of witchcraft to take your son or daughter, the closest blood to you, that is the youngest, And that's how they believe that they receive this power, is they sacrifice it to a werewolf or creature that they find. Okay, I'm not saying this is what happened. This is just what I found during the investigation. The child was murdered on the exact night, the exact time as the hunter's moon. Not later that night, not the next day of the hunter's moon. That day at exactly precisely that time. So whenever I started digging into that, that's when I received the phone call. And I'm told to back off. Well, the family now has been moved from that location. They have a brand new car, Bettina. They got a brand new house. They're living in the country. They're living their dream. They're raising animals and selling them.
How was the family living before that, though, Mike? Before that, let everybody know, because you told me, but how was the family living before that incident?
An overgrown yard, unmanicured yard, large bushes. The trees had overgrown. The house was in really bad shape. The photographs inside the house that they had shared with their son and stuff, it was a very cluttered, very ran down home. Uh, it was in rough shape. I mean, not knocking them for it. I've had rough times too. But they went from losing their son to a beautiful home, a brand new car. And she even said, Bettina, on her own post, I am finally living my dream. That's the mother.
I'm, you know, hold on. So basically, they were a low budget. They were living poor before. They didn't have
Yeah,
much
he
money,
right. Their
but
mother was living
after
with them, helping support them.
so after this incident happened, basically, the government or the powers that be, whoever these secret agencies are, came in and gave them some hush money.
Soon as the son died, tell me if this is weird. Soon as the son died, the father contacts me again. They're supposed to be mourning the death of their son, okay?
Hmm.
You know what he tells me? I think he's reaching out for help. You know what he says? Make
What
sure
did he
you
say?
put our GoFundMe page out there because we need a new car. The dog that was at the dog pound
Oh my God.
was on a Friday, right? The police ordered the dog destroyed by fire.
Wait a minute. What? Can you
Let me
repeat
get
that? I missed that. Can you repeat that?
the dog in question that murdered the child was ordered by the authorities to be destroyed by fire, and no, listen to this, no DNA swabs, tests, or anything to be kept on file, but to be destroyed. It was ordered.
And see, for y'all that's listening right now, like this don't even make no damn sense because why would you destroy that? Supposedly, if this dog did this,
I
why
can
would
answer
you
that.
just to prove? No, I'm just trying to show them something real quick because I already know,
All
but
right.
I want you to answer it. But
It
that
burns.
don't make no damn sense. And so at the end of the day, when y'all hear stuff like this, y'all need to like use like common sense too and say like basically they don't want the evidence to come out because the dog. We don't even. First of all, they probably lied about the dog being destroyed by fire because they probably never took in a dog in the first place. They lied about that, so now they got to tell another lie to cover up that lie. There was never any dog taken in,
Oh,
and if
it, it it's better. It gets better.
go go ahead. This is
It
ridiculous.
gets better.
This is ridiculous. Go ahead, Mike.
A lady that worked at the veterinarian clinic that destroyed the dog, right? She starts talking, and that's what they didn't need. She says the dog had no blood on it, the dog had no DNA on it, the necropsy was negative. So she's running her mouth, and the reason she's doing it is because she's a dog lover. And thank God, she stood up for what she believed in. But whenever she done this, guess what happens? The
What?
news comes back out to the house, and all of a sudden, Bettina, 5 days later, the news is saying, "Oh, look, we happened to catch a picture of another stray dog running by their fence. Could this have been the dog?"
It's so ridiculous. It's laughable at this point.
Right.
Don't y'all believe what they say about no damn dog? I'm sorry. I don't put it to y'all like this right now. I didn't watch plenty of videos of the most vicious pit bulls and pit bulls. I'm not going to say all pit bulls because it's all about the way you train your dog and what you're doing with your dog and how you when you socialize your dog with other dogs and other people and stuff like that. But even in the most vicious pit bull attacks, I have yet to see. I don't care if it was 2 or 3 pit bulls attacking a person. I have not ever seen, and I'm not saying they cannot kill a person, because there is cases where they've killed people. But when was the last time that a pit bull or 2 or 3 pit bulls left a bite mark the size of a shark bite, or you know, when was the last time a pit bull completely ripped somebody's throat out? When was the last time that you had a death by pit bull with blunt force trauma?
Or the,
When
or
was
the
it?
ate them.
Or they ate them? Or 40, like in the Amber Miller case, I think she had only 45% of her flesh left.
Oh yeah, you don't.
45%.
Traumatic,
You
traumatic.
think of your body like 45%. She only had 45% of flesh left. What y'all? I mean, I'm just gonna say right now because I a few days ago, like I got a cryptic group and so does Mike. And in my group, and it's a cryptic group, but I shared a video on in my group to try to prove a point and just to show something because there's a lot of people in groups a lot of time that are dogman and Bigfoot enthusiasts, and to each his own. If you like it, I love it. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, for those of you that say don't take no weapons out there because they know, okay, here you go. The same way you don't want to take any weapons out there because Bigfoot and Dogman know what they are. Understand with common sense too. Understand that doesn't change the fact that bears, wolves, mountain lions, and everything else lives out there. So you're gonna take your family out in the woods camping and hiking. You're gonna be out there for a few days, and you're not gonna take any weapons out there just for the simple fact of trying to protect your family. I mean, still use common sense and take something out there with you just in case. And if you see a dog man and Bigfoot and you're an enthusiast, okay, well then for that instance, don't pull that out in front of them. But in these bear attacks, like it was like probably 5 to 10 different brutal maulings by a bear attack, to where the people did not have any weapons at all. They were bikers, hikers, campers. The hunters
Right.
had some,
Right.
but in a case like that, I bet you anything in those moments at that time, the people who were being attacked wished beyond a shadow of a doubt that they had a gun, they had a sword, they had a knife, they had something to protect their child. Because in one of
My
those
my weapon,
cases, yeah.
my weapon has saved my life many times.
So you got to have something just for still, even though you can be the biggest enthusiast you want to be, fine. But still use common sense because at the end of the day, in that moment when you're being attacked, I'm telling you right now, you're gonna wish you had brought something out there with you.
And know how to
Um,
use it.
now, but I wanted to say the father changed his story. What do you think made the father in that case change his story? Mike, do you think that
Well,
they got to him and then basically he just decided because they had talked to him, he had to change the story up because they paid them off and gave them a good life after that. Well, now you're struggling. Now you're
yeah, I
not in
mean,
the lower class anymore.
speculating. I mean, you go from you make a huge lifestyle change. Also, they had oh, sorry.
That's okay. Oh, I'm just gonna let y'all know right now. Like this is ridiculous. Don't y'all be no fool. Don't y'all be no fool. Like when y'all hear a lot of these stories and stuff like that, don't be no fool. And I'm telling y'all right now, take something out there because, and if y'all is not members of the group is the same name as the channel. Go and join Crypto Normal Encounters and Be Moss on Facebook, and even pull up some of these videos, these bear maulings and stuff like that. Some of these people never stood a chance just on a regular animal like a bear. And people don't realize, even though you look at a bear and you think it's fat, they can run really fast. One of the cases in this, and I'm going to be quiet about it because I want Mike to go on about this, but there was a case where a couple of guys were out there hunting, and there was a bear that, matter of fact, I think he said he didn't just hear the bear coming up. He was deer hunting. He didn't hear the bear even coming up on them. It just came up out of nowhere, and I guess it saw him or smelled him before he saw it, and it had already started to charge him. It wasn't even a bluff charge. He's already in that stance of already waiting with his gun ready, already ready to shoot at a deer, but it came up on him so fast he didn't even have time to shoot it with his rifle. That thing came
Right.
up on that bear came up on him so fast. I mean, I think they said when they found him, like his gun was literally like, I don't even know how this is possible, but the gun was like all bent in half. And the man, when they got out there to find his body, I think maybe a day or two later, at that point, they weren't even able to have an open casket funeral for this man because at that point he only had just a little bit of flesh and tendons left on his body. The bear had fed on him so much, but you just don't realize that when it comes to a bear or any other natural predator like that, what type of speed and power that they have with their claws and their jaws. And I can't remember what the bite power is on that. So you can just take a bear and then you can imagine what you're going to get with a dog man. Because I've heard cases, and I'm sure you have too, Mike, where there's been bear versus dog man.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And like we was talking about, the family, the lifestyle change. They like it wasn't a small change. This is a nice house. They own property. They have brand new vehicles. They dress differently. Their life has changed. And he went from ready to talk to I don't want to talk. And just what I've seen working and investigating cases and things like that. Even Bettina, even when your child dies, you're not ready to talk about how they died. You're not ready to go into that kind of detail. He had organs missing they never found. His eyeballs. It was, without I'm, with respect to the family, it was gruesome. It was, and he was comfortable talking about it, and that was disturbing. Um, it was
Was his
disturbing to
fam-
me,
was his
huh?
family involved in witchcraft? I mean, he wasn't the one that you said the family was involved in witchcraft.
Witchcraft and anime, both. Yeah. Um,
Do you think he was desensitized because possibly they were already, and I don't know, I'm just asking, they were already involved in weird stuff as like child sacrifice and stuff like that? Do you think he was
I,
desensitized because of something like that, possibly?
I believe it's possible. Before he was killed, another thing I noticed, and a lot of people may not think the way I think, just from an investigator's side. Some of the pictures leading up to their little boy's death, uh, they took him to a pumpkin patch, and that alone is not as disturbing as they were doing his height and weight, and they showed him beside a thing showing how tall he was, how big he was. They were dressing him up in characteristic costumes, their son, and there was some really weird stuff going on. Um, the day that he was killed, and it was really weird. Across the street from their house is a dog kennel, and the neighbor said, if you even went outside and you coughed, them dogs over there would have a fit. They would hear somebody. Well, the night that this little boy was killed, the neighbor said the dogs over there. Now I know you're going to like this. Were scared and cowering inside of the building and would not come out that night. Well, what that would suggest to me and to other people is that there was a larger predator in the area because when you get a larger predator in the area, things get quiet. Animals leave that area.
Mhm.
They know there was something in that area that night that come to feast on that boy, and it took him all the way to the pond. And I hate to use the word, but it shredded him.
Since you brought up the fact that the family is involved in witchcraft, and I'm a Christian, but for years I started researching like back in 2010, 2011, 2012. Um, Russ Dizdar and Steve Quayle, Tom Horn, and them, and they were discussing satanic ritual abuse, and especially Russ Dizdar. And it makes me think about this situation right now because I know a lot of people, which I've heard from a couple of people that I have interviewed behind the scenes who don't really want to come out, and they probably come under an alias if I ever have them on the show. But a couple of them told me of different rituals that are done out in the woods. Some of the researchers or whatever that actually go out and have seances or different things as far as conjuring up, trying to conjure up werewolves and dogman in order to do their bidding. I don't know how true this is. I don't know how I feel about it. But I do know that there has been times when they've talked about, different researchers have talked about going into the woods and finding runes and stuff like that out there. So when it comes down to that, I just look at this and I wonder, did those parents possibly in this situation, did they actually, and this is just a theory or a question, but did they offer their child up for as a sacrifice? Because if they are so mentally and emotionally removed to that point to where they're happy that they're living their best life, was their child a sacrifice to get riches and fame?
I know that it's big business for some uh, cults to drink child blood. I'm,
Adrenochrome.
that's it. I was going to leave it alone, but you went there. Yeah, exactly. And
Y'all, I hope I don't get flagged. I hope I don't get my channel removed because last time when I got Lance Hightower on here, I'm telling you, listen,
yeah,
Michael done
yeah, because
already been reached out to, and they done already told him to shut it down. I'll be talking about this. Michael, what when they reached out to you, what was they telling you not to talk about? What was they telling you to stop talking about?
okay, I'm going to release this for the first time tonight. I haven't even released this on my channel, but I'm going to release it. I have a theory, and my theory ruffled some feathers. Uh, a lot of people say that they believe that they come from the Nephilim, and I had been studying the Nephilim intensely, and I had a colleague that was helping me at the time do it, and I came to the conclusion that the noises that Bigfoot was able to make led me to believe that he had a different set of vocal cords than what other animals or what we would have. The Nephilim, fallen angels, the Watchers, pretty much all same thing, would, in my opinion, be basically the same thing as what Lucifer was or Satan. He was known to make great music, and being able to do that is there the possibility that his vocal cords were different or unique that allowed him to make this beautiful music? And if he did, and if the DNA was altered of these animals from the fallen ones that had the same thing, did they carry on certain aspects of their father? And are they able to do that to this day? Because people say they feel fear come on them, they get sick. Well, we know from military experiments that whenever they're using these ultrasounds and wavelengths and stuff, they can make people sick. They can make them nauseous. They can make them dizzy. They can make them anxious. So if they're able to do that, maybe that's how these things are doing that. And I started talking on that and about how it would have came over, in the flood, and how Noah's son Jep and his daughter didn't have pure blood, and that's how it was before and after the flood. Well, I receive a phone call, and the gentleman says it would be in your best interest if you were to stick with the Giganopithecus and stay that way. And I said, yeah, but I don't believe that. And he said, well, it would be in your best interest because you're on dangerous grounds, and I'm just trying to help steer you in the right direction. And that was the end of the conversation. But Yeah, it was a it was
And
a
I was
push.
looking up something on that when you brought that up just now.
Yeah,
But
it was a push.
no, well, my thing on that is what I feel about that is why, because there's a lot of people out there who believe that whole. I'm one of them. I believe the whole Nephilim theory because there's too many things. There's too many things when it comes to them that just doesn't add up for me as far as just straight up flesh and blood. Because they do too many other things. That whole mind speak, the whole disappearing, the whole being able to like cloak. But there's several different ways of cloaking. They can show up like as a fog or a mist. They can show up or manifest as what I like to call the predator effect. Y'all seen the movie Predator? Where there's different ways that they can manifest. Sometimes you might see part of the body, but not the rest of it. Where you should see part, see the whole body, where there's like an opening in the branches below. You can see the head, shoulders, and upper body, but then below the leaves down below, there's an opening down there. You should be able to see the legs, hocks, thighs, and you can't see none of that. So it's like they haven't fully manifested. There's so many different things. That speed that they have, able to keep up with the car that's driving 75 miles per hour, and they were able to do that. The fact that they can pace you in the woods, and when you're walking and you hear that something bipedal walking right next to you, and when you stop, it stops. When you start back walking, they start walking again. Or the metallic, I don't know even know what to call it, that loud metallic crash that a few people have brought up. It just doesn't make sense. So when you look at that, it doesn't make sense at all. But there is a scripture, and I wish I'd have brought this up because I didn't know he's going to bring this up tonight. But Lucifer actually has, if y'all can look this up for me, and like one of y'all tell me exactly what scripture that is right now. But there's a scripture in there that actually goes into, because he was talking about like how like the different sound waves and different voices and vocals or whatever were coming through. But there's a scripture in there that says that Lucifer actually had musical instruments literally built into his body. I can't even like, and Lucifer was an angel. I think he was a cherubim.
Yep.
Actually, I think I found it. It says God created Lucifer with an occupation, a ministry, and a service in the kingdom of God, and it involved the skillful use of tabrets and pipes to make music that glorified God and the worship of Him at His throne. God firmly established Lucifer as a chief musician and ordained him in the ministry of music. Music was the focal part of this occupation. Timbrels, and pipes are musical instruments that were created in the very being of Lucifer. Ezekiel says the timbrels and pipes were prepared, established, and ordained in him from the very day Lucifer was created. These percussion, and wind instruments were a part of him, just as our arms, legs, or fingers are a part of us. He was a living musical instrument. Lucifer was fitted and framed by God to have music as an essential part of who he was and what he was anointed by God to do. Music was his domain, and this was to be his ministry forever before the throne of the Almighty. So when
Right.
you take that, like you take that, like this is an angel, and this angel actually was also the embodiment of music. Music was in his body. He was music. He was one with music.
The
And
master of
so
sound.
he was the minister of music. He was the master of sound. And if y'all take it, if y'all think, and I'm gonna put it to y'all like this, because I'm a spiritual person, like I said, like I'm not perfect or nothing like that, because I'm fallen by the wayside many times. So I'm not even gonna sit up here and try to act like I'm holy, because I'm not. But I'm
That's
gonna
why you
say,
do.
but I will say this: I ain't, the word is still in me, and I still know it, and I still know some stuff. And I will tell y'all this: y'all just think about the times that you didn't listen to music, the times that you listen to something, whether you had a drink or whether you hadn't had a drink. Music, there's a spirit in music. If you listen to certain music, music has the power to make you sad. Music has the power to get you hyped up. Music has the power to get you angry, and music has the power to make you have lust and make you want to have sex or different things. There's a spirit and there's a power in music. Why do y'all think that when it comes to music or the people, like y'all look at the Illuminati and stuff like that, why do y'all think that some of these different musical artists and stuff like that, when it comes to them, that a lot of them will actually say, "I sold my soul to the devil." If
And some of
devil
them,
and Lucifer,
yeah, some people will even use music to even try to trap you and how they want you to feel. Like, oh, I love you, so here's a song for you from me to you. You got to be careful with stuff like that. Uh,
and it's funny that you brought that up because binaural beats is another example of that, which they say binaural beats is able to actually, I think, I don't know if it's supposed to be able to change your DNA or to change your mind wavelengths or whatever it is. Like you can't. That's why, like in the Bible, it actually tells you to like be careful and protect your ear gate. You got to be careful what you listen to. And a lot of people don't realize when it comes down to it. And I'm not attacking nobody, but I'm a Christian too at the same time. So what did I actually tell you when it comes to certain stuff? When I researched the Illuminati and Satanism and the music industry and stuff like that, these people tell you I sold my soul to the devil. What y'all think this is?
a
That's
lot of
not
Yep, a
that's
lot
not
of
Rocco.
people.
That's not Party Hard. That is like the Diablo. That's the devil's horn. What do y'all think this is? That's 666 and the all seeing eye. Pay attention to what y'all listening to and watching. God, I'm gonna rebuke myself right now for even sharing that, but I just need for y'all to understand what you listening to. And a lot of the times, like what y'all also need to understand is that there's something else that goes out there too when it comes down to this, is that there is, when it comes to the master record, the master album that is put out there before it goes out to the masses and it made just multiple CDs. Sometimes certain spells are put over that music. That's why in witchcraft sometimes that you can listen to music backwards and you will actually hear what's really being said. But go ahead, Michael.
I was just going to say, people will tell you whatever you want to hear to win you over and to achieve whatever objective that they want, not caring how they're going to leave you, hurt you, or change you. And you have to be careful of that because there's people out there that will do it and not even think twice about it. Uh, it's sad, but there's another. The little boy we're just talking about. There's a little girl. She survived it. I done a video on it. Same area. She was out in the backyard. Her mom was in the garage. It bit over her back, halfway down on her back, over her shoulder, over the front of her chest. One bite bit her, and it pulled ligaments loose from the bones. It separated stuff. A very strong bite. Her mom heard her yell. She ran around, asked her daughter what she seen, and she said something on two legs ran out and jumped over the fence with a large bushy tail. They take her to the hospital. She's questioned without her mom present, which is not supposed to happen. But they go in and talk to her, and lo and behold, later on, when her daughter wakes up from surgery, it was a coyote.
It was a
Yeah,
coyote, but the bite went all the way from the back of the shoulder area. How far down the front? How far down, Mike?
middle of her chest. It covered the whole. It was just a whole big bite. I ain't never seen a coyote
So
or a
the
wolf that big.
so the coyote, supposedly, according to law enforcement or whoever came out with this, the coyote just randomly, all of a sudden, just manifested a mouth about the size of a shark, basically, to go from the back all the way down to the middle chest breast area.
And I believe it was after the throat. It was going to do the same thing to her that happened to the previous two. She was just lucky that it didn't happen. She survived it. Her mom advocated for a long time to the community, telling them that there was dangers, in that area and stuff. And she was eventually told that if she didn't stop, that she would be cited and arrested for causing chaos in the city or whatever. That she was trying to invoke fear, and she was shut down.
You know what? This is ridiculous. I'm telling y'all right now. I don't know what I'm. You know what? I'm angry right now just thinking about it. I'm telling y'all, y'all better figure out something right now. And I know there's not anything that we can really do about this. There's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can really say that's going to change anything because there's really people who are in law enforcement. Um, Martin Groves is a perfect example of that. He had a terrifying dogman encounter, and I shared that on my channel when I interviewed him. But it was back in the 80s in the LBL. And even as a law enforcement officer, he was even threatened. You got judges and stuff like that. When these people come in, they can completely ruin your life. Um, what is your reasoning or your rationale if you had to think of this, Michael? Why are they threatening people? Why are they trying to cover this up?
Liability. I mean, if you come out and you say we've got creatures out here that we've known about that's killing people, you're going to have to pay for all the attacks, the liability, the death of everything, property damage, animals that have been missing. And not only that, people are going to stop camping. They're going to stop doing recreational stuff. They make billions of dollars off of their national parks, their national forestries. People stop going, the government loses money. It's liability. If you admit that you know something's dangerous, then you're liable for it. If it doesn't exist, it's not on paper, it doesn't happen. You've probably heard
Here,
that many times. But if it ain't on paper, it didn't happen.
here's my question. In some of these cases, these secret agencies that show up, they show up and nobody's even called them after a cryptid has been killed or after a person has been killed as a result of these things. Do you think that they have these things tagged? Do you think that they have some GPS on these things or that some type of internal? I don't. It's so weird right now. I don't even know how to even rationalize or make sense. How do you think, or why do you think that they're able to just show up like that if they haven't even at that point been contacted yet? Or do you think that there's a level of secrecy and codes that go within law enforcement, within our local sheriff's department and police departments and military, that then at
Yeah,
that point in the DNR that know that there's this secret group that you contact if a person is attacked or killed under these strange circumstances. Do you think that they've been briefed on that?
yeah, I believe that some of them may be tagged, but I believe mostly it's they have protocol. Um, the wildlife here in Oklahoma. I don't know about other states, but here they are federal, and they would be able to contact even up to the National Guard government, and that's actually happened here. So I believe they know when they arrive on the scene what they're looking for, the damage that's done to the individual. I spoke to a lady that's living down there in the same area right now, and she's got something in the woods right now. She's afraid to go outside. So whatever was there is still there, or one of whatever was there. They may have got the rogue one that may have killed the little boy, but there's still things there. And she's went to them. She's told the game wardens about it, and they laugh at her and they ridicule her. And it comes to a point to where they just get tired of getting ridiculed. They just you live with it.
It's just sad. And like before we get too far, I know I'm at 8:33, and I do want to cover. Y'all, I'm gonna have Steven. I'm gonna have Mike back again on the show because uh, Cindy Curry said she didn't have any video. Refresh your screen, Cindy. D.A. Roberts, thank you for showing up tonight. Um, I do want to cover. Um, I definitely want to cover one of the most popular. I'm gonna say it was one of the most popular cases because there was a lot of evidence in that, and I don't know right now. Like I had the paperwork on this, and I'm actually looking. We might, Stephen, Mike, are you good to
Mhm.
take a break, like a 5 minute break in a few minutes, or
Sure.
do you need to cut off by a certain time? But before I do that, what? No, actually, what I want to do is I want to discuss the Cobb County, Tennessee case with Tony Earns and Amber Miller.
Mhm.
So you did an update on that recently, and I want to discuss that because that case out of Cobb County, Tennessee, that to me, other than the Corey Godsey case and the one that you just shared with us a few minutes ago about the little boy that was decapitated, those are one of the most disturbing attacks. And some of this is stuff that y'all cannot deny is like beyond the realm. And just what he just shared with us just then about the little girl that had the bite from the back of her shoulder all the way down to mid breast area. Um, that's a shark bite. Mm-mm. Matter of fact, even if she got bit by a bear, that's not gonna cover that much surface area of flesh. It's just not. So at the end of the day, it's gonna come to a point. I don't know what it's gonna take, but it's gonna come to a point where it's gonna be some type of mass sighting or anything like that, where it's gonna come to a point they can't cut up anymore. But can you might go into the Tony Arns case first, and then go straight into talking about the Amber Miller situation?
Yeah, he was found laying in the intersection of a Coronation Way and Jimtown Road. Uh, his clothes were almost completely torn off of him. He had large lacerations across his body. Now remember the word lacerations. Uh, they were quick to push that the dogs had attacked him and killed him in that area. Now, if you know from an investigative point, lacerations usually do not happen in dog attacks. You have what we call punctures, and
Mm-hmm.
lacerations would indicate the use of claws would have been what would have been used to cause the apparent death. He died by he bled to death. Um, Whatever attacked him in the report states was large puncture wounds that could have been stabbing wounds. It was large enough they thought it could have been a knife. And the lacerations on his body were so large that the coroner and everybody couldn't determine what would have a hand big enough to do that. It was unknown. But then what really makes the case sick, and it has nothing to do with the case, in my opinion, it may have to be in a toxicology report just because that's what you found, but it has no. They actually came out and said this. He had methamphetamine in his system, and they believe that was the cause of the attack. Now, how would methamphetamine be the cause of an attack? That's like saying a guy was walking down the street high, so that caused the guy over in the other road to run over and shoot him. It doesn't have any bearing on the case. You know it, and these are professionals, and the reason I believe they do that is because they believe that most people are going to read the Sunday morning paper, whatever, and they're going to say, okay, that's what they said because they're professionals, so that's what happened. But when you know, you know. And whenever I read that stuff, I'm like, no, that's, you know, it was a horrible attack. And then in the same area, you got Amber. She's 29 years old. She gets attacked, found almost the same area. She was screaming for help. And when they found her, she was saying, please don't let me die. Okay. Her body
Wait,
was in,
real quick, and I don't mean to cut you off. Like when she was she found by law enforcement or was she found by a motorist?
she was found by a motorist. And the
Okay, go
motorist,
ahead.
whenever he found her, there was dogs around her, but the dogs were not attacking her and they were not vicious to the motorist. Okay. So to me, that says that there was no threat from the dogs. Dogs, as you know, will lick your wounds. They're
Hmm.
not there to kill you. They're there because they sense an injury. That's what they do to themselves. I studied this in depth. If they were attacking her, her having the blood on her, they would not have ceased the attack. The blood would have drove them further into the attack. The motorist and law enforcement both said the dogs were not vicious. That's very important because the dogs were later took and destroyed for being vicious. But anyways,
Destroyed.
yeah, they were also caught and destroyed. They were deemed a menace and strays. But she was okay. If these dogs were so mean, why did they not attack him, and why were they not attacking her? And this is going to be another graphic thing. Her body was in such bad shape that when the first responders moved her, they were afraid her arms were going to fall off.
I
They
remember
actually,
that.
yeah, they got her to the hospital. The doctors said they could not count the bite marks that were on her body. There were too many to count.
I remember
But the
that
weird
too.
thing is, she dies from organ failure.
Like 5, 6 days later. She didn't die right off.
Right.
And from what I heard, she was actually able to tell the doctor, 'cause I think I got this. Barton, you're out there listening right now. Barton Nunley, you're out there listening right now. Because I think I remember hearing this from Martin Groves. But she was actually able to tell the doctor that it was, I can't remember exactly his exact words right now, but it wasn't a regular dog. It was like some type of a monster attacked her. And
Right.
so you remember, Mike, on this situation, if you remember in this, remember they said that she was uncooperative.
Yes.
Do you remember that in the beginning? No, she wasn't uncooperative. She didn't go along with their narrative, I think.
Exactly.
Before
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
died, while she was still living, I think that she told them what she saw, and they didn't know if she was gonna live or not. So I felt like they basically was like, "Nah, you had a bear attack you. You had some dogs," and she was like, "No, that's not what it was. That's uncooperative." That's just my thoughts on it. What do you think?
The same thing. She, one of the family members made a comment that she said that what she was killed by was a large, hairy creature. That don't sound like a dog or a bear. And and when somebody tells me large, hairy creature, that's telling me she doesn't know what it was. It was something she'd never seen. Look at Brenda Hamilton. They found her in a ditch of water, partially consumed, still alive. She was still alive, and it was eating her alive. And they took her to the hospital.
Mm-mm.
The medic said she was alive, she was alert, but she gave no statement.
Was she the school teacher?
Yes. Yeah.
Was that in North Carolina?
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah. And
Can you
she
for
was
the
alive.
tell for the okay, hold on. So that's Brenda Hamlin. That was a school teacher out of North Carolina. Real quick, um, on that Amber Miller case, I wanted to bring up one other thing. Some of those before, because I want to talk about Brenda Hamilton real quick too, but I want to say that on the Amber Miller case, some of those bite impressions or whatever in her flesh were like 15 inches wide, like they were huge.
And they
And I
couldn't
think
match it.
one they couldn't match them, and then they went all the way around from her hip area, like but all the way from her hip area, all the way around to the buttocks and upper and middle thigh area. Like even a bear's mouth is not that large. And so if y'all think about some of these dogman encounters that y'all done heard years, like when they talk about the head was massive. Like they talk about how massive the head is to the point where the head was so big it didn't even match the body. And if you take that, you got you it ain't. You know what, y'all? I'm gonna let you know right now. You don't stand a chance. Now, for the fact that some of those of you who are out there, and like I said, I will have anybody on the show at any time. Like everybody gets a voice on my show, whether you are a person that believes in the woo or flesh and blood only. I'm like the Oprah Winfrey or the Barbara Walters of this. Like I'm not about that. Everybody can come on and share their encounter and whatever your beliefs are, because that information needs to get out there too, because there's people who also believe these different things. So we're all out here trying to understand and trying to learn, but we're also trying to make common sense out of stuff too. Things that make sense and things that don't make sense. A lot of people who've had these encounters and stuff to this day have actually had PTSD because of it, and some of us have nightmares because of this stuff to this day. But you also have to wonder, why is it that certain people who can go out on a regular basis, that these things frequent certain people's property? Bart Nunley out there in the comments right now. They frequent his property. Me, the property where my parents used to live at. Anytime I would be over there visiting them, they always showed themselves to me. Um, Mike, he's seen them since he was a child. These things, for whatever reason, I don't know if they mark people, because I've heard people say that before, but I'm not gonna cut too much in his time because I got other things that I want to discuss with him. But um, I want to go on with you real quick with the Brenda Hamilton case out of North Carolina. Can you tell everybody from beginning, like from the beginning, as if some people don't know that story? Can you tell them her story?
Just from recollection, she was on a morning walk that she took every day. The dogs that were with her that morning on the walk were the same dogs that walked with her every day. It was not a freak occurrence. It was something that was normal. The neighbor's dogs started having a fit that morning, which woke the neighbors up. They went outside, found her in a ditch of water, and she was still alive, but she had been eaten alive. Something was eating her alive. Uh, they found a nutri in the area, and there was an argument kind of over from the game wardens. Some of them said it was not there was none in that area. Later on, they said there was some in that area, but even at that, you would speculate that whatever attacked her was probably carrying that. It was probably planning on eating it, and found her and decided to eat her would be my guess. But she was alert and awake whenever she left with the medics, and the medics stated that she was, still alive, and she was coherent, but never gave a statement. And that kind of goes back to what you say. She probably didn't give the statement they wanted,
Mm-hmm.
because whenever you don't meet the narrative, it's very easy for law enforcement to say, well, they wasn't very coherent at the time. She was having hallucinations, blood loss, shock, um, and I've seen a lot of that done in court cases where they're not getting the information they want. And I've also seen it reversed. I've seen them use shock and stuff where they will get a description that they need to get a search warrant. So it can be played either way, because you see, a lot of things are left to the interpretation of the officer during the investigation. All you have to prove is reasonable suspicion. You do not have to prove it to be factual. You just have to have enough reasonable suspicion to make a judge say it's plausible. And you got to know
Mm-hmm.
plausible pretty much covers everything. So if it's plausible, it's pretty much easy to get a search warrant on anything, or to make an arrest for an interrogation or an investigation to hold somebody for 24, 72 hours. So they can use these things to either hinder or advance an investigation. And I believe when this happens, in my personal, just an opinion, they're hindering the investigations to cover up what's really going on. And then later on say, well, we showed up, the dogs were there with her, so hell, let's just say the dogs done it. Easy, shut, closed case. But a lot of these cases, as you know, are never closed. But they know that if they leave
Abs-
them open, the police department can't comment on it, and you can't file a FOIA on it. So it's just saying, this is the result, this is the outcome, live with it.
Absolutely. One thing One thing I want to say too, I'm going back to that Tony Orange, I think the Tony Orange case. In that case, one thing that they found strange with that, one thing they brought up was the property. I think that his body was found on. One thing I want to share, and y'all look this up: Cobb County, Tennessee killings, or y'all look it up on YouTube. Matter of fact, look it up on Mike's channel, Abnormal Investigations. He covered both stories on his channel. And one thing on that, wasn't it? Didn't one of his neighbors see him out there like around 6 o'clock in the evening, and then around 9 o'clock or 3 hours later, whatever time it was, 3 hours later, that same neighbor found him outside, partially eaten 3 hours after he had already seen him out there earlier that evening.
Yeah, that's the story. I'm glad you brought that up. The neighbor you're talking about actually heard the attack and called 911. And whenever he looked out the window, whenever he called 911, he told 911 that there was a creature that he could not identify attacking a man in the roadway. 911 dispatched the officers to the location, and when the officers arrived, one of the officers gave a deposition, and he stated that there was an unknown creature at the scene attacking him when he arrived with a pack of dogs. Okay?
Wait,
But
wait, Mike, I missed that. What?
Okay, I knew you was gonna like this. The police officers that arrived first on the location, right, while he's being attacked, stated that there was an unknown creature attacking him with what appeared to be dogs. Okay, The next day, the police officer recanted the story and said that whenever they showed up, he must have made a mistake because there had been rain that day, and it could have been another dog, but it could have been wet and did not look like a dog. But his first initial report was there's a creature that he did not know what it was attacking this man with a pack of dogs. And then it gets dropped back down to he was found at the location, and it went all the way from a police officer on the scene, from a neighbor witnessing it, all the way down play to his body was found in the intersection of Carnation Way and Jim Road.
I'm gonna tell y'all what happened with that. And I'm just coming from women when it comes down to us, like we like to psycho or overanalyze stuff. What really happened with that situation? That officer saw what he saw, and when those powers that be, those secret agencies came in, they told him to shut the hell up. You didn't see
Yeah,
none of that. That's not what you
because
saw.
the number
You
one
take
thing
that
that
back.
we're taught is we observe and report. We are supposed to be the best observers in the field, and for him to have enough confidence in himself to put it in his report that he did not know what he's seen, a legal document, which is a felony to lie on, and then go back and recant your story in a day, it just, none of my officers never done that. So, I mean, that's all I can say. I just,
Mike, let me just address Mr. Nonnelly there. Barton, you're absolute Barton. No, listen, Barton, you might be right. I hope not, because like we didn't went to a whole other level tonight. They gonna. I hope I don't get followed. I hope don't nothing happen to me. I'm gonna let y'all know right now. If anything happened to me, I'm not suicidal or none of that stuff. Like
absolutely.
nothing at all. Yes, Barton, probably will be flagged. I pray to God right now they don't try to like go out there and destroy and shut down my YouTube channel or the group. But I wouldn't be surprised. You remember what they did when I had Lance on. But I'm just saying, it's interesting that neighbor or the person whose yard he was found out of. It was just interesting to me that he just so happened to be called Charlie Dogman on Facebook. Not he was like a dog breeder or something. He had a lot of dogs, but it wasn't dog space man. Charlie Dog Man, one word.
Yeah,
Almost to me, and I felt at that time was is that code word? Is that the powers that be letting these people, these secret agencies know right after that situation happened? That was cold word and them their way of letting whoever needed to come in and I guess come in and take control of the situation as far as these creatures were concerned. Were they letting them know in code, come over here, this is Dogman related? Because at that point in time, because they were bringing up all this stuff about this man's history, and it's like, well, what's that got to do with anything? He found him on his property. He didn't. But people were trying to say, well, he sicked his dogs on these people, that his dogs killed these people. But what people don't realize is that that man didn't do any jail time over that. I
there
think
was
that
no charges. No charges were filed.
no
And,
charges were
and
filed at all.
another thing, the police, out of their own mouth, they said that Charlie was an expert dog raiser, right? Then how come if he's an expert, he's raising dogs, he knows everything about dogs, he's an expert. They called him an expert out of their own mouth, so they can't argue that. They've already said he's an expert. Then why did he say in his 911 call, it's not a dog? I don't know what it is.
Wait, was he the witness? He saw. He was the one who saw it attacking him.
He was the 911 caller.
Oh my God! I did. But he saw it. He saw it when it was attacking Tony out there.
That's what was first reported, and then it was dropped all the way down till he was
Mm-mm.
found in the intersection. An expert that doesn't know what a dog looks like, a dog expert. He said it was not a dog. He said there is a creature attacking a man with what looks like a pack of dogs. He's not even sure that the other ones are dogs. He said it looks like they're dogs. And he's an expert.
Now, in that case, what I found strange, and we're gonna like I'm telling y'all, I'm gonna have him back on the show because we're almost at 2 hours because we got so much story. this is interesting to me. I had to cover this tonight because I wanted y'all to understand. Don't believe everything the media portrays. Don't believe everything that's put out there. There's a lot of cover up. People get killed. People get murdered, or people end up disappearing or dying under mysterious circumstances. Channels get shut down over this. YouTube channels, Facebook groups, personal profiles, and then when those channels are Daryl Denton's down there in the comments. It's happened to him. I can't remember if it's happened to Barton before, but I know it's also happened to Martin Groves, Shell Dion, and several others like of us who do this. Like our channels, when you get too deep or you get too close to the truth, and you get to talking about topics like this and asking the real questions, they don't want those kind of questions asked. They don't want you bringing up this kind of stuff. They don't want you questioning the narrative and putting two and two together. They don't want you bringing all this stuff together because when you do that, then it's making too much sense. They want people to continue doing what a lot of people are doing in groups and on live chats and stuff. They want people to keep debating and keep arguing, and they want it to look crazy. They want it to look crazy. They want us to be a laughing stock because nobody's going to take it serious. But when you start taking it serious and you start bringing all the evidence to light, then that's when it's a problem.
And it also
Now,
gets dangerous for people like, DA Roberts and other people that are retired law enforcement officers. And I'd worked in investigations and with law enforcement. I worked with them all my life. And when you're an investigator and you start talking about these things, they get very irritated because they know we know their protocol. We know how they investigate. We know what words they're using. We know what they're trying to do. We know when they're gaslighting because we're trained how to deal with the media. We're trained how to spin a story. We're trained how to write words that don't break the law, but can change where you may think it's going. It's all taught.
it is. Um, that scripture that well, Mike spoke on it earlier, and he was talking about Lucifer having musical instruments built into his body. And then I Googled it while he was talking, and Warcram was asking, he's never heard of that. That's Ezekiel, and I think somebody else shared it. Cowboy Five Rings, I think he said it's Ezekiel 28:13. But basically, it does actually say that he's got musical instruments built into his body. If you look at it, like I said before, the whole thing of just he's the minister of music, and then you look at it as in the music industry, people say that they sold their soul to the devil. Well, why is that? If Lucifer and Satan are the same being, or entity, or angel, then they're selling their soul to somebody. I can't remember. Was it Robert Johnson? They said one of the greatest blues um, singers ever. Whatever was it, the Route 66 or something like that, or whatever. And he sold his soul to the devil. And but he said that after he done that, he was able to have this. Everything he touched at that point with his music was amazing, and a bunch of people in the music industry when it comes to that. So this is, you just got to look. According to the Bible, he is the God of this world. If he's the God of this world, and you got Baphomet and people selling their soul. Well, what comes with that? Riches and fame and all the glory and all these different things. Dark Woods said,
I would rather keep my word to God and have nothing than to sell my soul for everything here because in our next life it's eternity. This life is limited. And if I have to have a little bit of grief here to keep my word to God, I would rather have that and have my riches in heaven for eternity.
absolutely. Y'all, we're at like 2 hours, and I know I didn't take any questions tonight. But what we're gonna do,
You're gonna be
because
in trouble.
I've really enjoyed this show tonight. Like this is an amazing show. We're at like 2 hours, and I gotta eat dinner. Um, I'm gonna eat dinner, and Mike gonna kept him like I'm so excited right now. We gonna come back again. Mike, are you willing to come back for a part 2 of this discussion next week?
If you would like me to, I would be honored to come back to your show. I've enjoyed you a lot in the conversations we've had. Sure.
Thank you so much. And what I want to do, like next week, y'all, like, because if y'all let me know in the comments below because I'm gonna check y'all out in a few minutes. But y'all let me know. Do y'all want me to? I'm gonna have him back. Like if y'all want him to share more, I want him back anyway. But if y'all wanted to come back to share more encounters, because we got so much other stuff, and we're at 2 hours right now. But if y'all want him back, I'm gonna have him back anyway. But what we'll do is I will probably have him do a few more encounters and stories to share with us. But what we'll also do, I'll probably dedicate that show more so to y'all's Q&A. So anything that didn't get covered tonight, I will. I see one question right now that I will take real quick. Dark Woods wants to know, Mike, have you investigated reports of cryptids other than Dogman or Sasquatch?
Yes, I just actually
What?
released a video on a what I what I believe to be a people call them the lizard men or whatever, but I did have an encounter with something like that. I'm not sure what you would name it, but I did actually me, my mom, and my brother-in-law, and it was a an encounter that I'll never forget. Yeah, yeah. There's other things out there.
We're gonna have to talk about that. I'm bringing it back, y'all. Now, name redacted. I'm going to respond to this, and I know where you're coming from with this story because I did hear this on Jeff's show. The two Border Patrol agents that just died this week, they shot a dogman that was attacking migrants near the Rio Grande in Edinburgh, Texas. Jose Mercado was the one who took the shot. Um, I am aware of that. I think Jeff did share that on his channel. What you talking about right now, that was, I guess, part two. Jeff giving an update on that encounter, but there were like several people that were trying to cross over the border from Mexico into the United States, and several men, women, and children were slaughtered in that case by Dogman, and the Border Patrol agent was the one who shared that encounter with Jeff, and it was him and I think two other Border Patrol agents. Come to find out, Jeff did a update on that within, I don't know if that was today or within the last couple of days, but the update on that was that the two other Border Patrol agents that were there that actually ended up shooting at that dog man, and then some secret agency people, whoever these people are that come in when stuff like this happens, because multiple people were slaughtered, body parts were everywhere. But now, two of those, the two other, there was three, but now two of those Border Patrol agents, two of the three, are now dead. One of them had a heart attack supposedly, and but there's actually, I think Jeff actually gave the names of those people. You can actually look up their obituaries and look up their information. You have to go to Jeff's channel to check that out. But there's actually proof these people are now dead, and the man who actually shared that encounter on Jeff's channel has now left his position and quit his job as a border patrol agent and left and gone back to Mexico. So all I'm saying is that he realized at that point, okay, I'm the only one left. Shit just got real, and I need to get the hell out of Dodge. So I'm just telling y'all, I'm gonna pray over this tonight. I'm just telling y'all, when it comes into it, when you get real deep and start putting stuff out there, that's why, like, a lot of the time I interview people certain things that I just won't cover, or if I do, I try to. Yeah, he just put the answer in here. Hold on. I try to like space stuff like this few and far between because we're getting real deep. We get real deep into it, and I know that when it comes down to this, Mike just told you a few minutes ago. Yeah, he did get threatened by these people, and I've heard plenty of people say this stuff. I know a few people personally, like within the cryptic community, who they've actually tried to kill because of this stuff. So I'm just letting y'all know we're getting ready to shut this down. Mike, did you have any closing words or anything that you wanted to say before we get off here? Because
Um,
we're going to bring you back.
just that I've enjoyed speaking with you this week, even on and off the camera, and you're just as polite on the camera as you are off the camera, and it's been a pleasure meeting you and your knowledge and everything. You're up and coming. You're good at what you do, and it's been my pleasure.
Oh my God, thank you so much. And I really enjoyed having you on the show. Like, this is really, I was looking forward. I would, like I said, I was in full fangirl mode. Thankful to you for coming on the show. And y'all, like, I will have him back again. I'm going to try to get him back on again. We're going to set up time for him to come back next week. Y'all can have Q&A, and we're going to go over some more, a few more encounters. If you're not subscribed to his YouTube channel, somebody real quick, Marquetta shared it. For those of you who are catching this after the show is already uploaded, just go back to the comments or just straight up go to YouTube and type. Well, you're already on YouTube. Type in Abnormal Investigations. That's his channel. He covers a lot of these killings. Check it out. Subscribe, like, comment, share. If y'all enjoyed this live tonight, y'all make sure that y'all like and subscribe and comment, and I will have Mike back on next week, and we will do a Q&A. With that being said, everybody, thank y'all for showing up tonight. Y'all have a good night.